Welcome back to Project Management 101, where this lesson is solely focused on careers in project management. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the more popular topics of this entire course. So if you've been wondering where do project managers work, how do you even pivot into project management, then this lesson is exactly what you need. All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the top industries that are hiring project management professionals right now, including the types of projects and the average salary. And then also what you need to know if you're pivoting into project management, especially if you don't have any direct experience. And then we're going to talk about key roles to help you grow in this field. Now, if you're interested in some industries that may not be covered in this lesson, don't worry, because I have a supplemental resource that I will provide to you that you can reference and learn more about industries that are hiring project management professionals. Also, make sure that you stick around to the end so that you can complete the homework assignment that's going to help you to start planning your project management career. All right, so let's dive into a few of the top industries that are actively hiring project management professionals. So if you're considering a career pivot, then these are a few industries that are great places to start, especially if you already have a background or work experience in these industries. First and foremost, let's start with IT because this is a very popular industry. One reason why I want to cover IT is not just because of the popularity, but also too, I want you to learn or at least be somewhat familiar with the types of projects that you may see if you do work in IT. For example, one example could just be software development projects. Depending on the company that you work for, you could either be assigned to a project team or you could be the one that's actually leading this entire effort of developing various softwares or even maybe software upgrade initiatives. Another example could even just be data migration. So let's just say you're a part of a company or a project team to where you've been tasked with migrating large amounts of data from physical hardwares or physical storage to cloud storage, right? Those are massive projects. Or let's just say you work in the cybersecurity space. So let's say you're a part of a project team that's tasked with launching a new cybersecurity system, right? Depending on the company you work for, the details of the project, may vary. But this is just an example of the different types of projects that you see under the IT umbrella. So when it comes to the average salary for IT, you'll find that most project management professionals, the average salary is a little above $129,000 here in the US. And I want everyone to remember, right? When I talk about average salaries, this is not average as soon as you break into the industry, right? There are factors that factor into the salaries that you receive. So the salaries that I'm providing are actually collected by the Project Management Institute. So I'll include a link to the Project Management Institute data where they collected salary information from project management professionals across the world. All right, the next industry that has a demand for project management professionals is healthcare. So if you work in healthcare, there are different areas within healthcare that you can work in. You can work for insurance companies, you could work for pharmaceutical companies, you could work in hospital operations, or you can work for corporate offices that oversee different doctors' offices, right? There's so many different lanes within healthcare that you can work under. So a couple examples of projects that fall under the healthcare umbrella would be things like helping with the implementation of a new electronic health record system, which if you're not familiar with healthcare, EHR systems are essentially the systems that are used to track patient data, right? And then other examples of healthcare projects could be things like expanding physical locations or facilities. Or let's say you could be tasked with, starting up a new telemedicine service or something like that. There's so many different projects that fall under healthcare. These are just a few examples. So now the average salary for project management professionals in healthcare is a little over $122,000 here in the US. And then the third industry that I'm going to cover, and it tends to be a popular industry, is construction. So typically in construction, if you are a project management professional, you're probably managing projects that have to do with residential construction or commercial building projects. But you can also be involved with more infrastructure projects like building roads or even bridges, right? These are just a few examples that fall under this industry. And the average salary for construction project management professionals is a little above $116,000 here in the US. Now, if I didn't cover one of the industries that you're interested in, make sure that you check out the supplemental resource in the description box below where I cover 10 popular industries that also have a high demand for project management professionals. You can read through this and find industries like finance or manufacturing or retail, things like that. Now, just so that everyone's aware, I do want to do a simple breakdown of the different job roles that you'll typically find in project management. So let's start with entry-level roles, and I have two examples that I want to share with you. First of all, when it comes to entry-level roles, typically you'll see roles like project coordinator roles. So when it comes to a project coordinator, they're primarily tasked with supporting the project team by completing administrative tasks. So as a project coordinator, you'll typically be responsible for scheduling meetings or, taking meeting minutes or even just helping with any additional project documentation. This type of role is a great starting point because it allows you to become familiar with projects and how these projects are executed, how they're planned. And it allows you to be involved without necessarily having the full responsibility of the success of that project. And then a second example of an entry-level project management role would be a junior project manager. Now, not all companies have junior project manager roles, but you will see some that do. Now, typically junior project managers are tasked with managing more smaller projects. Now, this is actually a great opportunity for anyone coming into the field because it will give you experience with managing those tasks that are related to those smaller projects or even the timelines, right? Project scheduling. And then typically you'll also receive mentorship or guidance from more senior level project managers. All right, so moving on to the mid-level roles that you'll find in project management. So one example of a mid-level role is a project manager. So as a project manager, you are solely responsible and you are taking ownership of any projects that you are assigned. So you are responsible for making sure that goals are being met, that timelines are being developed and followed. You're also responsible for communicating with key stakeholders and the project team. So typically when you see project manager job roles, they'll want to see if you have experience with either managing resources or coordinating teams, or if you just have the ability to problem solve, especially at a higher level. So this is why I say a project manager role isn't typically the first choice for anyone who's new to the field or just trying to get into the field. And then another example of a mid-level role would be a scrum master. So scrum masters are responsible for managing agile projects. And so as a scrum master, you will help support daily stand-ups, and also just making sure that the recurring sprints are being executed and managed. So if you're going to become a Scrum Master, you need to have a deep understanding of agile methodologies. And again, this is why I say that this isn't technically a entry-level role. All right, and so now on to senior level roles. So for senior level roles, typically you'll see roles like senior project manager roles. So typically as a senior project manager, you are responsible for overseeing more complex projects or even those high priority projects. These projects typically have larger scopes, larger budgets, and they also come with more risks. Also, senior project managers typically work very closely with executive stakeholders. They're also commonly responsible for managing cross-functional teams, and they also have a significant say in budgets or resource allocation. Another example of a senior level role is a program manager. So program managers essentially manage a group of projects that are related. And typically they're related because they align with the broader business objectives or the business goals. So as a program manager, you're going to be overseeing multiple projects and budgets and also several teams that may be associated to each of these projects. And in the midst of all that, you're also responsible for managing or at least making sure that you're meeting the organizational goals. Okay, so now let's shift gears and I'm going to answer a very common question that I get, which is how do you gain experience if you're trying to get into project management? So I'm going to share 3 ways that you can essentially get started. So one thing that you can do is start with small volunteer projects. Volunteering is great because it allows you to gain experience leading initiatives, especially in low pressure environments, right? So see if you can volunteer to plan events, whether that's within your local community or your church. See if you can volunteer for things like that. Or if you're at work and you hear discussions about a project, see if you can join the project team or if you can take on some of the small tasks that are related to those projects. All right, the second thing that you can do is start owning smaller projects in your current role. You do not have to wait for a formal title to start managing projects. You can start today and try to take the lead on smaller projects or tasks in your current role. Also, I encourage you to be proactive, right? look for opportunities where you can actually create projects or the opportunities for projects. You do the work every single day, right? You know what could be improved, you know what could be done better. So if there is anything in your current job role that you know could be done better, don't be afraid to have that discussion if you can, if your work environment allows this, but to have that discussion with your direct supervisor and just make a recommendation. Hey, I noticed that we do this way. I have a recommendation on how we can improve this. And if they agree to that or think it's a great idea, you can be the one to immediately volunteer and say, hey, I wouldn't mind taking this on as a project in addition to my current work responsibilities, right? This is the best way to start gaining project management experience in your current role. And then a third thing that you can do to start gaining experience is see if you can shadow a project manager in your current company. Now, if you don't have any project management professionals that you know of within your company, then this may not be the best option for you. But if you do know people who are managing projects, right? Let's say their title may not be project manager, but they may be a manager or a supervisor. See if there's anything that they're doing that they would allow you to just shadow them. Maybe it's something simple as just, hey, could I come to this meeting with you, this project meeting with you? Or maybe they would, allow you to just shadow them as they plan or do anything related to that particular project or initiative. And then also to take it a step further, don't just attend the meeting, right? Or them just inviting you, but offer to take notes, or the meeting minutes for the meeting, whatever that may be, so that you can also add value while you're in attendance. That's what's really going to help you. All right, so here's the key takeaway for any of my career pivoters or anyone who aspires to make a shift and change your career. So pivoting into project management doesn't mean that you're jumping straight into a project manager job role or even a senior project manager job role. If you don't have a lot of experience with projects, I want you to focus on entry-level job roles within project management so that you can start to build more experience. Also start to build confidence. And then also strengthen your knowledge of project management processes. And as you gain experience, this is going to allow you to then move into mid-level roles and then in the future senior level roles. The great thing about project management is that it's not just a one-stop shop in terms of you have to be a project manager. There are levels that will fit your specific experience. Now, here's the homework assignment for this lesson. All right, so I want you to do some research. I want you to pick one industry that you want to get into, whether that's the current industry you work in or if you're trying to pivot into a new industry. The second thing that I want you to do is look up job roles in that industry that interest you. And what I want you to do for this homework assignment is then drop in the comments what's one way or a couple of ways that you're going to start gaining experience so that you can land your ideal job role. Also, as you look up these job roles and you read the job descriptions, I want you to identify one skill that you feel like you could either start to develop or get stronger in that particular skill. All right, so make sure that you drop your answers in the comments down below. That's all for this lesson. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the next lesson, and I will see you guys in the next video.